Hi, I'm Andrea with Pacific Composting, and today we're joined by another team member, Amy.
Hello.
Hello, Amy. Thanks for joining us. So today we're going to discuss in this video about the importance of soil testing. So perhaps naturally to get going, let's just start off with that very question. Why would you test the biology in your soil?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Andrea. So you might have some existing plants that you're wanting to grow and to see how you can best support them, or perhaps you have an area where you're curious what plants might do best in that area. So by testing the biology in the soil, we can answer that question. Plants also have a pretty serious key role in what happens in the biology in their root zones, right? So they're putting a fair amount of energy into making exudates, sending them out into the root zones. And really, we want to know who's home. I think of the biology as who. Who's home to respond to the call of the plant? And then that can help us in our management decisions, help people grow.
I love that. Perfect. Now, what would one stand to gain from doing this type of microscopic assessment?
Right. So really what we're looking at here is the main part is what is the ratio of fungi to bacteria in the soil. When we look at where a plant falls in succession, we can get some pretty good guidelines as to how much fungi and bacteria that plant needs to thrive. So that's what we're trying to move towards. So the ratio of fungi to bacteria is super important.
Okay, great. And what exactly do you mean by succession?
Good question. I bang on about it all the time because it's so important.
It is.
So if we think about how Mother Nature, how she moves from bare rock or soil to a climactic forest or a productive grassland, depending on the climate or the geography, she is obviously a female.
I feel her too.
I feel like she's a female, but anyway, moving on. As we journey through succession, there are some predictable changes that happen in the plant communities above ground, and we see predictable changes in the microbial communities below ground. And so when we kind of know where your plant falls in succession, whether it's early or mid or later on down the line, we have a pretty good guideline as to how much bacteria and fungi that plant requires in order to be really healthy.
Perfect. Now, that makes total sense. What about other types of biology beyond fungi and bacteria? Super
important because, you've got your fungi and your bacteria, which are like little bags of fertilizer, holding all the nutrients inside their bodies, and it's not available to the plants unless something comes along, eats them up and poops them out. And so we need the predators of the bacteria and the fungi in there. So unless we've got protozoa and nematodes in the soil system releasing those nutrients, we don't have nutrient cycling, and that's really important for your plant. So another really key thing that we're looking at in the microscope is, do we have predators in there? And what does the diversity look like? Because fungi to bacteria ratio is important. Presence of protozoa is important, but diversity is also really key.
Absolutely.
We can see it with our eyes with the microscope.
For sure.
Yeah.
And how about doing an assessment like this? Does that give you an idea as to whether the conditions are aerobic?
Yeah, fabulous question, Andrea, because plants are obligate aerobes. So the organisms that they want to partner with in the soil are aerobic organisms, and they have certain shapes, and that's what we're looking for under the microscope. So if we can tell if conditions are aerobic or anaerobic, and that way we can help you put decisions in place that will help bring the biology back to where it is that your plant needs.
Amazing. So I can see everything, all the knowledge that you can gain from doing this kind of assessment, but what won't it tell you?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot. I can't see pH through the microscope. No. I can see pieces of organic matter, but I'm not quantifying it. So those are important things that a traditional soil chemistry test would tell you. Right. And I can't tell you what other things like a traditional soil chemistry test would say, like, do you need to add lime to your soil or fertilizers or other inputs? And so really what I can do is I can quantify the damage that might happen to biology if you use some of those approaches. But we can also figure out pretty quickly who's home, who's missing, and how do we help and encourage those who might be missing to get to the level that your plant actually needs.
Perfect.